know where the treats at.
Is this the passing of the torch, right? Is this what this signifies?
It comes down to that front office and what they feel is most important.
The champ is here. We've touched down from a higher plane. Why you landed here?
We always look forward to that week because it was always intense.
You know that we ain't coming back. We about to.
The man, the myth, the legend, Dante Hall. My favorite player growing up was Dante Hall. I love you guys in the show, but Dante was my guy.
Get to dashing because you done on the warfield.
This episode of Chief Concerns is brought to you by BetOnline.AG. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports, contests, and events with first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information, from live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BLEAV50, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Chief Concerns. I'm Marcus Dash here with our host, former Chiefs tight end Jason Dunn and former cornerback Eric Warfield. Tonight we got a special guest and bringing on the man behind all the dapper looks you see on the Chiefs field, and DeJuan Bonds. Guys, I'm sure you guys want to make a nice little introduction on how long you guys have known Mr. DeJuan Bonds over here.
Oh, what's up, guys?
First year.
Oh God, yeah, first year for sure. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
How many years ago was that?
98. Good God.
98.
Hey, I got some archive balls down in my basement, man, that say that was the first year that I was over there, man, 98, the 98-99 season, man. And it's been till right now. What year is it, 2023?
22.
A long time.
Yep. You know what? Matter of fact, I think it was Tamar Beno that took me over there first.
It probably was. Yes, it probably was. Man.
Yeah, I got there at 2000. And I was just leaving from Philly. So, when I came in town, I had to make sure I had somebody that was, putting me together like in Philly. You know what I'm saying? You had like where everybody go to. It was like, man, DeJuan, you gotta go check him out.
Yeah.
So at the time, do you remember we was getting our dreads and all that put together? Like, at the time, growing everything out. And so he was like, man, you going to the barbershop with dreads? I'm like, yeah, man, you still got to get the edges and stuff clean to put together. So,
hey, you was one of the first, though. Dreads wasn't really popping like that, though.
No, they wasn't. No, they wasn't. Yeah.
It was not.
Donnell Bennett said, JD, first time I seen you, I thought we was getting guys out of prison.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
So, yeah, brother. Yeah. Hey, man, we'd love to have you on the show, man. This is a beauty. Just happy here, man, to just talk football with you, talk life, just catching up with each other, man, for the holidays and whatnot, man. Just seeing a familiar face.
Yeah.
We have a lot of history with. Like I said, a lot of history that we look at as family and have a lot of love for, man. DeJuan, man, appreciate you, man, for having you on the show, man. Seriously.
Oh, well, thanks again, guys. I enjoyed it.
I don't know who it was first that took DeJuan out of state. But before he got set up at the stadium, like the shop was always crowded. So, we make them little road trips. We don't want nobody else messing up the hair. So we used to pay this dude to come out to put him on a flight, come out of state with us, cut us up, come party with us, and he go back home.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, look, and that's real. Because when you have somebody that knows your hair, if you go anywhere else, that's what you're talking about. You put your that right here, their hairline, so put it all the way back here, man. They be all up in your kitchen, just keep pushing you back, trying to get you right, man. That's why you got to have somebody that knows what what you're working with. You know what I'm saying? And be generous with it. So D, you was always generous with my hairline. So
man, that's just it. The biggest thing before I go into the generous hairline thing, man, that's what's crazy is a lot of times these barbers now it's the thing, but we was doing that 20 years ago when
20 years ago.
Man, you guys was like, hey, man, we're not playing about this haircut thing. And this haircut thing has gone to another level today because of the social media presence.
Yes.
And all the enhancement has drawn a lot of attention to, guys being particular about their image. But, man, I mean, we talking about 20 years ago, man. You talking about putting me on an airplane and flying me out just for a haircut. That was kind of like, that was all the way not the norm
at all.
So,
but it was more than we can probably find different barbers in different cities, but we had a different relationship.
It's more than a cut.
We created the irony of your last name being Bond. We created a hell of a bond.
Yes.
Almost from day one, and that's why we're still friends to this day. Damn near like family, but the bond that we created was like, man, you get more than just a barber. You get family out here. You get somebody that knows how to have fun. Same things that you enjoy doing. Invite your family out to enjoy the weekend with you. So
yeah, we had great fun, man. More than a cut. But JD, man, when you say you have to protect. My whole thought. And to this very day is if I continue to push or pull somebody's hairline back, how long will I have them as a client?
Not long.
It's over. Yeah.
If you got somebody with elephant hair, I'm gonna make sure I protect it, and I'm gonna make sure that I don't push it back so I can continue to have him as a client for a long period of time. It's not about what I can do today, it's about what I could continue to do for years to come, so I'm not pushing nobody's hairline back. I'm not taking anybody's hair that's gentle on top down too much. That's just killing my business.
Yeah. And heck, but you were so skilled at it though, man. So like, it's from a cultural thing, black guys usually cut black guys' hair.
Mm-hmm.
But you were so well rounded that you would do black, white, Mexican, whoever sat in your chair.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think that was the biggest thing that made you so acceptable when it came to presenting you to the Chiefs and like, hey, my man needs to have set up shop here, do the entire team, whether it's black or white, coaches, he can do it all. So. And that was an easy deal to get done when they decided to bring you in.
That was one thing that I kind of had to make sure I knew how to do. Is become a well-rounded barber that would, no matter the hair type, multicultural barber. So no matter the hair type that sat in the chair to receive service from me, what would I look like as a professional if I say I can't do it?
Exactly.
At one time I couldn't do it. But it was the self-teaching that I had to learn. I had to learn how to do it. And my school that I went to didn't show me how to do straight hair at all. It was hands-on. It wasn't even YouTube back then, when I was trying to figure it out. It wasn't no tutorials on really how to, it was like dive in, like figure it out, sink or swim, mess it up or don't mess it up. So I kind of taught myself how to do it. And what's funny is, during the time when the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl, and then they were talking about the Chiefs Barber having COVID, there were so many people calling me saying that I know that can't be you because white dude in the chair, man. This is a white dude. Is it really you? And I was like, no, it's really me. He said, I didn't think it was you, but I forgot that you do everybody's hair. It don't matter the hair type that sits in the chair. So, that was just a little running joke. Matter of fact, it was Ty Law had called me. He's yeah, he gonna say, fool, I know that ain't you. And I was like, why you say that? Because there's a white boy in the chair. I said, Ty, I cut everybody. Oh, yeah, you do, don't you? It was funny,
hey, but the biggest thing on that, and what's crazy that he called you on that, was that I myself wouldn't say you blew up from this because I thought you kind of blew up when we first started back in the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
the Royals World Championship when my man was getting the mohawk. You know, they did the big feature on you and him, and where he was getting his hairstyle from, and that was kind of like your coming out big TV moment. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you know, you were doing Patrick's hair. Yeah. So you know, you've had some moments to where, you know, DeJuan is not just your average bar. That's top tier. That's elite. You know, all professional athletes. And heck, you got guys that come in from other teams. I was noticing baseball and football that sit in your chair. Mm-hmm. So people don't understand the relationships that come with barbers, man.
Well, let's put it in perspective, though. If like you said, professionally, if you're thinking about anybody, any occupation, if you move to a new city, you're coming in. There's certain professions that you know you have to have, right? If you're moving there, you want a real estate agent, you want a doctor, you want somebody, maybe a lawyer that's good. And you know you got to have a barber. There's somebody like when you're talking about, these are the people I need to know, a dentist, right? These are people like that help out with your image of who you are. And so a barber, when you talk about just that importance of having somebody there that you know you can trust, and like DeJuan, your spot is a safe space, right? Like you said, a professional athlete comes, they know they can trust you, right? I'm trusting you with my image. I'm trusting when people see me on TV that I'm gonna be put all the way together when they see me, when I go ahead and hit a home run, or I catch me a touchdown, or you know what I mean? When I take my helmet off, I'm gonna be presentable. When everybody sees me, that's gonna be like my icon, my calling card, the way that I look. And image is very important. It's very important. So that's the importance of your positioning, you know, in the community. I think a lot of people don't even, you know, they don't really think about it like that. But it's like, man, if you think, like, sit back, it's like, wow, same thing. Churches, like, you know, maybe a minister, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's exactly right, JD. When you move and you relocate, one of the biggest fears for most men is the barbering thing. You know, you want to find someone to cut your hair. You're gonna ask before you move. You're gonna ask all around when you get to your new city. And also too, with the churches, that's a big thing too. And mechanics, it's just so many different things that you're afraid to lose. But barbering has become one of the biggest things that people look forward to or try to make sure they handle before you leave. Because I have people that move away from the city and they're like, hey, do you have any recommendations? You know of any barbers in whatever city that they may be going to? So it's really important now. I mean, it's important to every male that.
So with that you just said, do you have referrals in other states that you will refer somebody to just in case you couldn't make it?
You know what? And it's because of Instagram. You know, there's so many barbers that I follow from other cities now that, you know, if I like their work, if someone said they're moving to Philly, if they say they're moving to California, they say they're moving to Dallas, or wherever they say they're moving, man, I got some barbers everywhere, you know, that I can, you know, say, hey, I do know of this guy and he's pretty good, and it helps a lot.
Yeah.
So on the Kansas City realm of things again, I can't think of my guy the Mohawk guy for the Royals.
Hosmer.
Say again.
Hosmer.
Yes. Did you refer it to him, or was it something that he was like, you know, hey, I want this kind of a hairstyle? Or was it like, hey, I got you. Let me try this on you.
You know what? How that thing was, it's funny, man, how that thing was created with him is he was the funniest thing. MLB went through a time period where they weren't allowing any outsiders to come into the facilities due to, you know, various reasons. And there was a former player that came back to Kansas City who I was cutting. Like, I had two different stints. I had a 2 or 3 year stint, and then there was a break, and then I ended up coming back when that player came back. So David DeJesus came back to Kansas City and was a visitor. So I was able to get into the clubhouse as a visitor, and then he crossed paths with Hosmer on his call-up day. And it was MLB debut. He looked terrible. So David DeJesus, they just crossed paths, and he's like, yo, kid, you look like, you know what I'm saying? So he's like, you need to get a cut. The barber is here. I was totally not supposed to be there cutting no one else's hair. But it just happened to work out that particular day. I sat him down in a chair. We talked about the image that he wanted, and it wasn't quite there on that particular cut. But after, I cut his hair in a few different times, I kind of told him, here's what I'm trying to evolve this haircut into, which everybody, it was a simple mohawk, but you know what? Every barber has his touch. Every barber has his own way of cutting. But I put my own little spin on it. It worked. It caught fire with him. He was a great looking guy. He was on TV. He was the first baseman. He was a perfect canvas for my art and my talent. So every time that, if you watch baseball, that as that every play defensively, it dang near runs through your first baseman. So the camera is going to be on that guy all the time. And it
was stuck on his head.
Oh, they stuck on it, man. And then, when they hit the World Series, there was a photographer that was a visiting photographer from Sports Illustrated, I do believe. And he was just in awe that the Royals had a barbershop right there. And he just stopped and took a picture of us doing the haircut on game day. This was like game 1, game 2 type of thing. And then next thing you know, man, I'm not even at the game. I'm at a friend's house watching the game, and Eric is at the plate, and they flash me during the World Series with this picture that this dude took, and they asked me about the haircut. He's like, "What's this haircut called?" I mean, and right off the rip, I was like, "I don't know. We call it the Haas," and they named it right there during the World Series. Like, hey, Eric Hosmer was getting his haircut. His barber called it the Haas. Wow. And dude, right after that, man, like every little kid in Kansas City was calling a barbershop, trying to get lined up, trying to get the look, and it was just great. But like you said, Eric, I mean, I've been doing it for so long. I mean, between you guys here with the team then and now, all the guys that I was doing then, from TG to Priest to LJ to you to T Rich, everybody, so I'm just thankful that I'm still relevant, man.
Brother, listen, hey, it not only the kids in Kansas City, we're talking about kids that watch the World Series.
Right.
The same thing that was going on when kids was watching. It's like, look, I want that haircut. It was the same thing like when Patrick had his. All the kids I seen over in high school, they had the little curly hair. They wanted the same look, right? Because it worked. And so you just started seeing quarterbacks, wide receivers, kids, all different schools had the same look. And all of that was based off like your influence on putting this thing together, right? Yeah. I mean, that's how much your reach was actually extending out. Yeah. And just imagine this, not just the world's like United States, the ones in the world, right? Dominican Republic and all of that's how big it is when you think about that. You know what I'm saying? They're just putting it on that scale,
So did you help? I don't remember Patrick. I mean, I never really watched him in college. So did he come to Kansas City with the mohawk, or was that something that you transformed it into? Or you just had your signature to it?
He had something. I don't know what it was. And I tried not to ever talk about any barber's work, but I told him, I said, hey, man, we got some work to do to create the style and the look that I think will look best on you. And one thing for sure, like right now, like I love Pat. I love him. That's my guy. But, when he take that helmet off, it don't look like I do much work to his hair at all, because he always got the wrap on and he always got helmet hair. So my little disclaimer is, whenever he takes a shower and he gets himself together, that's when my hair on him looks the best. But when he take that helmet off, I even myself say, oh my Lord, that hair look like it needs some work. So, but yeah, no, it's his hair wasn't quite like that. We had to grow it out. We had to, tweak it and modify it to the way it is today.
Yeah.
We seen when he comes off that plane, when he's in his suit.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, then you see it like, okay, now
fresh.
Yes, right, clean, put together.
So who on the team now blows your phone up for the most haircuts per week?
Most cuts right now that don't play around. You got me really thinking. It probably belongs to Mecole.
Wow.
Yeah, Mecole thinks and knows he's fine. So yeah, he's most anal about his look.
Gotcha. Yeah, you gotta stay on point, man, because that once a week ain't gonna get you. Because I know you used to come to my house on Tuesday, and then I catch you at the stadium at the end of the week.
Yeah, yeah, he's you. He's definitely you.
Well, do you know how I used to come in on the end of the week? You know, I'm like, D, man, can you get a cut? You know, JD, I'm the last one. I'm in the anyway. You know, I used to keep you late. Like, damn, JD. Like, man, all right, I got you. Don't worry.
Every Thursday at the stadium, though, hey, so I used to slide to your crib, right? So I knew every Thursday when I'm about ready to be done, JD gonna come through with the towel don't fit. Like it's like he holding the towel, right? Like, hey,
Yep.
I'm about to come through. I'm like, man, if you don't put some clothes on, man. But yeah, JD, where you know you I always knew you was gonna come through and be the last cut of the night. Yeah.
Hey, it had to stop, man. He'd be the last one to chime in on the app, not the app, but the podcast and all.
Oh man,
Nothing changed.
No, just stay the same, baby. You know how it is.
I've grown to ask this question with all the new guys because I just love to hear who is the JD. So I say, who is always the last one to arrive somewhere, to meetings, to the plane, to everywhere? And it's funny when they say it's funny. They say it's Trav, man. He notorious for running up close to the clock like that. So
tight ends. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. That old tight end university, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We're gonna get into some football stuff right now. So I know we didn't. Damn, almost 30 minutes.
All right.
That was good stuff. Actually, DeJuan, when you were talking about like people who have gotten the haircuts, the Haas. So I was a junior in college, and I remember after seeing that whole special that you mentioned, I remember going to. And when I was going to school in Miami, I remember going to my barber and taking a picture of the Haas haircut. I was like, "Can you do this?" So it's crazy that I'm on a podcast with you right now. You know,
You're a young buck, D.
Oh man, I hear that, man, and I'm you know what? It was kind of a craze. It was a mad hype. You know, kind of like the Beckham thing. The Beckham thing was a real big haircut at one point in time, doing that color and all of that. But yeah, man, there was people calling me, barbers randomly calling me from shops like, hey, man, how do you do this cut? And I was like, wow, this is really crazy. So, yeah.
Let me add one more thing, all right, before we get into the football part of it. When things are happening on the field, and we're talking about barbers almost being like therapists, ministers, right? When they come in, things that's happening in the locker room, what you hear that's going on social media, they come in there and they lend you an ear. I mean, they're giving the ear like you're listening to what they're going through, right? You're kind of talking them through it. And so what does that mean for you being somebody who's been in the business for so long, who's seen a lot of players come through this, about giving me some of these young guys that knowledge, some of that information, you know, and what some of that means, you know what I mean? So how does that work out as far as like with you kind of talking to these guys?
Well, athlete or regular, man, I try to give them that advice that I would give to, any individual, that come in and need that knowledge. It is very true that, these guys are on pedestals and they're looked at as role models and everything. But one thing that I do never forget is that they are young men, and I don't ever actually look at them as as they're my peers as far as age and stuff like that. I keep that perspective and understand that these guys are a lot younger. They have a lot more challenges that face. I mean, they not. I don't want to say challenges, but we cannot forget that they are young, and what were you doing at that particular time? So I just try to give them the advice I would my own child. I mean, whether you're an athlete of that age or if you're just a regular client that comes to the barbershop, if I answered that question correct.
No, it's good because it can get frustrated. Like when we hear things that's going on out here, guys get frustrated. And so when we, like us, when we're sitting there, we're talking to you, that's one of the things. Like I'm going to talk to you real, and I have somebody like you that's like, hey, man, JD, I'm like, man, what do you think about that, right? What do you think about this? And so, like I said, with your body of work and the history with different guys, what you heard about them going through contract disputes, things in the upper office, whatever it may be, and, guys not getting playing time, like you hear all of that, right? And so part of it is like your balance to tell the guys like, hey, man, listen, maybe Warfield did it like this or JD did it like that, right? Yeah. I know these guys and how they kind of handle these things. You know what I'm saying? And so like passing that knowledge and information, man, is so key. It's so important for a guy who is young, who's trying to get his foot into the city, trying to get his foot into the NFL, to actually get some advice from somebody who knows these guys, right? Somebody who's been around there, who done these things. And so go ahead.
You're right. I've had conversations with a lot of the guys that I remember having conversations like let's just say, just like I've had conversations with Kobe Smith. Kobe Smith was frustrated at one point in time about, his playing time, but I had to like get him to really understand who he was behind. The same with Larry Johnson, and even the same thing with some of these guys now. I'm like, hey, you guys got to remember that, your time will come. Just make sure you maximize that opportunity when you do get it. And that's why I have so much respect right now for Pacheco. Because, he's staying focused. He's not being distracted by anything outside of football. If it doesn't have anything to do with football right now and instructed by the team, then he's just going to decline it all. I've even spoken with Mecole, and just checked on him about his mental, because this is a tough time for him right now, having to deal with, the games missed and whatnot. It's one thing to be physically ready, when you get out there on the field, but it's also that other part is the mental part. And, I know that he will soon be physically ready.
Right.
That mind, is I had to just really just check on him and be like, my brother, I know you're a warrior.
Mm-hmm.
How are you handling the other part of it all? So that's key as well too when dealing with these players.
Yeah, in a sense, man, you're kind of like a therapist, dog. Because like, to be honest, like the barbershop is kind of like the locker room. It's a place where you can be vulnerable with your barber and share any and everything. But if you don't know that barber, you're just going there, getting a haircut, and you're out of there. Yeah. And I think you've done a great job of taking your time and getting to know people, to understand who they are inside and out, where they come from. Because if you don't, then, you can't create that kind of a bond or relationship. Heck, I appreciate you. I love you, man. Since day one of us meeting, I say it again. That's why we still chat every year. So, but you've done a great job, man. I know, because I know you for so long, how you adapt, but it takes a special individual to have the type of personality, the type of heart that you have to go in on a daily basis, not just with all those athletes, but the guys that aren't athletes, to continue doing that for such a long time.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're gonna give you flowers now, D. That's man. That's for real. That's all respect right there, brother. Yeah.
And cool.
All right, so you guys already talked some football?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the question I wanted to ask you guys, and E hasn't been on the show in the last month, so I kind of wanted to get your kind of feedback on what you've seen from the defense as far as the progression, because the one thing we talked about this year is the kind of the youth movement that we had defensively specifically. But what have you kind of seen as far as a growth and a progression since the last time you were on the show, Eric, to what you're seeing now? Like, for example, Karlaftis, last 5 games, 4 sacks, and we're starting to see him really come on and start to to kind of get used to the NFL speed. So what have you kind of seen from the progression from the defense, Eric and guys?
It's kind of like last year. Like the defense steps up in the third tricep of the season. And in the beginning, it was all like our defense is giving up this amount of points, giving up this many plays. It was like that for the last few years, even when we had Tyrann Mathieu and some of the other guys that we've lost. But when it comes closer to the playoffs, we find a way to show what we're capable of doing. And right now, a lot of these guys the younger guys are stepping up and they're making the plays that we brought them in to do. I love the speed that we're bringing. I love the physicality that these guys is bringing. Chris Jones has been phenomenal for the last couple of years and continue to show it. I even like what Frank's doing outside now. So it's good to see at this time of the year because we know we're getting closer to the playoffs. So, hell, we're the favorite right now.
Yeah. So when you talk about the speed of the game, and we said this at the very beginning of the season, is we didn't quite know what this thing was going to look like. But what I liked about it was Spags was kind of putting things together to get these young guys to play faster. And a lot of it had to do with him just trusting the secondary, the young guys that was going to be in there, to say, hey, look, if I put you in this situation, I'm putting you in a situation that I believe that you're going to be able to get this thing done. And so we've seen the guys, especially in the secondary, starting to play faster, starting to play with a lot more confidence than what they did at the first of the season, which is going to be key when you come down this stretch, especially going into the playoffs, right? Because we're going to see, look, it's going to be a monster receiver. When playoff comes time, monster receivers are going to be showing up, right? The ones that make the plays, they're going to be the ones that want to go out there and put on the pedestal to make all the plays. Now, look, I say this. I still want to see a little bit more from the D-line. And I'm not talking about Chris Jones. We know Chris Jones has been phenomenal. He's been a beast, absolutely unstoppable. Kalowski started doing a better job. Carlos Dunlap is doing a hell of a job. The other ones, like the D tackles and stuff like that, I think that rotation is going to come. I think with these games that's been playing for the last couple of weeks, you're starting to see a little bit more rotations, right? We have Big Shelton came in last week. The first time we seen him, and a big body, I watched him play, man, that Joker takes 2. He's a big body that takes 2. And that takes a lot from the O-line getting on the linebackers. And so when you have Bolton, who's the 5th leading tackle in the NFL right now, which is just crazy. I mean, he's somewhere around there. I mean, he's just playing phenomenal. Willie Gage is playing lights out too, playing fast. This defense, I think, when it comes to the playoffs, man, they are going to hump. They are going to be the ones I think is going to be able to get us over the hump. Seriously.
Yeah, I like to echo a little bit on that too, man. I believe that with the defense, it's kind of like how baseball is when you catch fire, at the right time in the playoffs and things like that, and you get hot. The defense is getting there. I think that they're. I like the play of, like you said, Frank Clark, Dunlap, Chris Jones, all doing their things up front. I even like how they're starting to gel at like the right time. It's going to be, I don't mind if they're not doing their thing, early on in the season, but we got to tighten it up as we get down the stretch, like you said. And then I like the play of Juan Thornhill in the backfield. I think he's coming around a lot, and he's becoming the leader that we need him to do or be in secondary. Kind of like how Tyrann was for us.
Yeah, I mean, heck, our identity is our offense, starting with Patrick. And so I think everybody expects defensively us to, to keep things up to par with what the offense does. No, there's no team in the NFL right now that's that well balanced. Dallas for a while had the supposedly best defense. And all of a sudden, you see all these big plays that are created on Dallas, and it's about the offense having to put up more points. So it's hard to complement the offense when offenses are so complex, like they're so designed. You got so many double moves, and it's so hard to cover receivers nowadays with so much changing within the rules and regulations. So it's going to be hard to shut offenses down. So yeah, we want to get more stops. We want to prevent more big plays, and I think we've done that here in the later part of the season, and it's happening at the right time. Are we going to give up big plays, give up touchdowns? 100%. You can't stop an offense completely.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Being a defending player, what would be the ideal number to keep it under to win a game, right? Because offense, we're thinking about scoring points. We're thinking about, like, this is the number of points we had to score to win the game, right? I know y'all defensively, y'all in y'all room, y'all saying the same thing. So what would you say realistically?
I honestly think a great defense is going to hold it to an average of 17 points. It sounds like a lot, but then again, it isn't. Okay. Because it's hard to stop points from being put on the board.
Right.
Whether it's, if I want to, if I'm a receiver, I can run a play down the sideline and just bump into a corner to get a pass interference like he tried to do it. And that's, can get me, depending on where I get the contact at, 20, 60 yards down the field. And that's, 3 points, 6 points. Yeah. So it's hard to stop points. But there's, a lot of talent on our team to where we've been making some key plays. And that's about what it is, making key plays. You're not going to stop plays, but you can make some key stops.
Yeah. And I think that's the reality of it. The reality is, look, guys get paid on the other side. Like you said, they're going to score points. They're going to have some chunks out there. But it's got to be one of those bend, don't break type of defenses, right? We're sitting over center. You said 17 points. If we know we got a high-powered offense that's going to score over 20-some points, even if you keep it under 21 or, somewhere around there, Chiefs should win, right? I mean, that should be – we should. That should always be like knowing under this amount of points, Chiefs should win this game handily. Like, it shouldn't even be close. And just we know as far as what we're looking at in the AFC, okay? So always going to be the Bills. We're talking about the Bengals, right? We don't know if the Ravens, I don't think what's Ravens going to come back. I wouldn't. I'm just going to say it right now. If I was Lamar, for real, I ain't touching the field. I just ain't going to do it. It's not going to happen until they pay his money. But those are the offenses that you're kind of looking at, shoot. And so when you see those things, you're sitting there saying, like, look, can we keep these guys under, 21 points and 17 points like you're saying? And I think the defense definitely can do it. I think you have the guys enough on defense that can hold a team like that under 21 points.
JD, it's at a time right now to where and rightfully so, the NFL has created, these rules to where you can't hit a guy to jar the ball out. If you come up with a big hit, and you hurt that dude, or the ball comes out and it looks like a violent hit, that's a penalty and sometimes an ejection. Yeah. And so there's not a lot of fear if I'm a receiver to say, okay, I'm gonna get hit. Now, if I do get hit, it's kind of unlikely it's gonna happen. So I can take the chance at laying out for this pass or going across the middle or running that slant and not worry about the big hit coming. So I can make those phenomenal one-hand catches and make myself look good with all these some of these plays. And on top of that, as a defender, you can't touch that dude after 5 yards. Receivers are by far the fastest players on the field.
Yeah.
You got a little Tariq Hill that's running a 3.6 40, and he's past 5 yards. It's hard to stop that.
Yeah.
There's not 90% of the league can't keep up with him, and it's shown from the production he's got. And it's like that with a lot of the guys because it's the NFL has turned into we have to protect our image, but we also have to protect by protecting these offensive guys. And on top of that, the number one guy we got to protect is the quarterback. And we've seen some embarrassing calls to where a guy was either landed on a quarterback, threw a quarterback, got up in his face too close, and it's a penalty. You know, you got to let the quarterback be himself, make the throws, not get hit. On top of that, you got the receivers that have this freedom to do whatever after 5 yards. And this defender has to sit there and react to everything that he does without touching him. And on top of that, when he does have the ball come his way, you can't hit him hard. You know, that's the old NFL. You know, the new NFL is you got to make a play. Let him catch it, make the play.
Right. D, what do you think? You think you got any thoughts on some of that?
I mean, yeah, I really don't like the way it is, the no touching, and they really changed the game a lot. I like football with contact. I don't really like how they babied it in a sense, you know. But it's the game. I if you want to talk about what I really don't like, I don't like the kickoff. I mean, you hardly don't ever get a kickoff return anymore because everything is always touchbacks. So to put that ball back up there so we can get some returns and bring some excitement back to the game. Get a great return or a great 40-yard, 50-yard return. You know, back in the day we used to have that kind of stuff, but now you can't get that, or you can't hardly even touch a player. I mean, you know, you got to be a quarterback of a name to get the call too.
Oh yeah, that's it.
It's I don't know. I just watch.
But DeJuan, though, in the decades that you've been in, the decades that you've been in Kansas City, I don't know how many guys that you've talked to that have had the issues of CTE. It's real. It's real, man. I've had some guys that I played with that have passed on, and I've had some. I got some guys that I played with early on in my career that are dealing with some real issues. So I understand what they want to do to protect the players.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, it's to a point to where it's not the same old football that we grew up on.
Right. Let me respect that CTE too, man, because after selfishly as I watch as a fan, I want to see more of the football we kind of grew up on. But you do have to respect that aspect of it and the effects that it has on people after they get done playing. So I can understand the way they have to curb the game to protect the image of the game and also to protect the players that play. So I get it. It's just selfishly I want to see a little more excitement. Oh, yeah. And I think that, you know, some of the 5 yards off, I mean, they can let the receiver in the corner fight a little bit more.
I agree.
You can't touch him. You know, I get it. After you get down the field, you ain't supposed to do that, but let them get down on the line a little bit like they used to.
Yeah. I think, and I kind of agree with E on this, as far as saying like the quarterbacks, as far as how they're protected. Like we've seen some really bad calls, like you said, of guys like the whole roughing the passer, putting your weight on a guy, right, or something. Like, to me, I think it's a little bit. That's a little bit much. It's a little bit ridiculous. Okay, and when it's up to the referee to know, well, did he put 50% of his weight on him or 75% of his weight? Like, how much weight was it to make that call? I think it's just it gets a little bit crazy because there's no real baseline on how you make that call, right? It's not consistent, and so it's when it's like in the eye of the beholder to make that call, then it gets really messy. The whole thing, I think, it's bad for football in itself, unless it's just blatantly that it's a pass, like roughing the passer. I don't think it should be called, really.
Oh, true. So the thing that really we had the one with Chris Jones. He rolled the guy over.
Yes.
That was called pitiful. That's just, I don't get it. And one of them that really stuck out to me was on a Tua hit. He didn't get hit. He was shoved and actually hit his head on the ground. Now, it's not the defender's fault that you hit your head on the ground, but it's your fault that he's got a concussion and got to come out the game. So you get flagged for it. Well, how else do you want me to hit this guy? I didn't put my pads on him. I just shoved him.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Just because he fell awkwardly, hits his head on the ground, I get penalized for it.
Yeah. What do you think about the rule about the guys going down with the injury? Because that could be a little bit messy too. Because who's the determining factor if a guy's really hurt or not, right? Who makes that decision that this guy didn't have a cramp in his, in his calf muscle, right, to kind of stop the play like that? And I think when you start to say, well, we're gonna find guys for that or whatnot, and I think it's because they're trying to protect the sport, right? They want the tempo of the game to keep going, the rhythm of it. But then if a guy is hurt for real, and somebody pulls out a flag and say, well, look, we're gonna find this guy because we think he was just laying down on us, which he may not be. I just don't like when sometimes they bring some of these rules in like mid-season and they start talking about it. It ain't really clear, as far as like how they're gonna do things. I just think it just sets a bad precedent as far as how they do the officiating in the NFL, really.
Yeah. Well, they've been getting a lot of excuse my language, they've been getting a lot of shit this year from so many calls, and a lot of bad calls too.
As they should. There's been some terrible ones out there now. There's some terrible ones out there.
Yeah, I think on Monday night, the Derwin James hit on that Colts receiver. That was like right away they ejected him for that, and that was like I've never seen that in the NFL before. Right away, where they eject a guy for a helmet to helmet hit. What did you?
Well, you're not supposed to lead with your helmet, but the thing that I noticed with the Derwin James said he caught dude on the shoulder. Either way, the thing is you can't lead with your helmet. I mean, that's supposedly more harm to you as it is to that person.
Yeah. Derwin James was trying to knock that sucker out.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
So, and he took the brunt of the hit. To be honest, he stumbled. They just had to. Yeah. He was leaving. He didn't know why he was leaving. They were like, "Hey, where am I going? I'm taking the locker room." Okay, shoot. Well, but that was like one of those bone crushing hits that we're used to. What we used to see, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody was like, "Ooh, like man, have you seen this hit?" I mean, when I'm telling them, like the texts were coming in from different people saying that, "Did you see that hit, JD?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, he tried to take his head off." Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, man, protect the game. I get that 100%.
So the next topic, this is an interesting one. So obviously, Chiefs Twitter every week there's like a new like thing that people get nuts about. Last week we had like the bank robber and Colin Saunders going on with a lot of fans online. But this week, actually today, so Travis Kelce on his podcast had revealed that Coach Reid is the one who calls plays and not Coach Eric Bieniemy. His brother even asked him, "Are you sure Coach EB is not the one calling plays?" He goes, "No, I'm pretty sure it's Coach Reid." So mixed reaction on Twitter. You had some fans who were saying, "Oh, not surprised. Of course, Andy Reid's calling plays." Then you have the other fans who, like to blame EB for the offense. When the offense is not doing well, they like to blame Coach EB for the reason why that's happening. So they were kind of surprised by that. So I want to ask you guys, and I know JD on the show has always talked about how it's kind of a group effort when calling plays. It's not just Coach Reid. It's not just EB. It's a kind of a collaborative effort. So were you guys, when you guys heard that, I don't know if you guys heard that or saw that video, were you guys surprised that Coach Reid's the one calling plays, that Kelce said that?
That's more of a JD thing, because I know for us, our defense coordinator would call most of the calls. So as far as the head coach, I don't know if Coach Jamil or anybody else has made a whole lot of calls when you play. I thought it usually come from upstairs with the offense coordinator, right?
Yeah, that's where it would come from. Yeah. So okay. So here's where I'm at with this. Okay, it is without a doubt a collaborative effort. All right. So when Andy's making calls, EB, Nagy, all those guys are on the same page. They go through the entire week about what it is that the game plan is. Okay. EB may be the guy sending it in. Okay. Andy's sitting over making the calls. EB may be one that's suggesting the calls too. I think they take serious. I think they switch things up every once in a while. Okay. So Travis, what he said, if you hear what he's saying, he's actually saying, well, I'm under the impression it's Andy making the call. And the way he got that under the impression was when Andy's saying, hey, this is your play. Well, him saying that doesn't mean he was making that call. Like EB might be saying, like, look, we need to get it to Travis this time, right? We need to get it to Travis. but it is a collaborative effort. The problem I have with this, because I think it's a lose-lose situation, and I think it's a lose-lose situation for EB. For the simple,
it hurts EB bad.
Absolutely, 100%, right? That's the depth of it right there. It's because now all of a sudden you've taken away the power of EB making calls. Andy said EB makes calls. That's what Andy said. He said it himself, right? He said this himself. EB makes calls. Well, now all of a sudden, does Andy lose credit and EB lose credit by saying this guy actually doesn't make the calls? Am I trying to fluff EB up so he can get a head coaching job, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's how far this goes, how deep it is. And I know it's a collaborative effort, right? And so it's the same thing. Well, we seen Patrick when he came off on the sidelines against the Bengals, he's yelling at EB. Well, if EB's not the one making the phone call or making the calls, why is he fussing at EB then? You know what I mean? So I think, man, when you go into it, there's a whole lot of nuance there. And I think if the guys told you just in itself, where the players are not necessarily in the room, I've been on offenses. I've been, in offensive rooms. I'm an offensive coach in college.
I mean, I hope, JD, he's trying to take some of the heat off it. I hope by saying it. But it does make him look bad, though.
It does.
It makes EB look bad.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Because it's like, well, shoot, he's just there.
Like, what you doing? Like, what are you doing on the team for?
Right.
But I do know that from my understanding, the head coach at the beginning of the game, because you guys have a certain amount of plays that are scripted.
First 15, yes.
Yeah, that head coach is going to call those.
Yes.
After that, then it's
free.
Offense called by committee.
Yes. And so usually that's how it works. And even though those first 15, they still kind of go under. Like EB knows the first 15 what they call it. You know what I'm saying? And you know how it is, E. Everything's situational too. I mean, like I ain't gonna call, 20 bowl if we're third and 25. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going, if I got a play I could try to get 15, 20 yards on, I'm going to call that one instead of the first 15, right? Situational. But without a doubt, I think this right here hurts EB. And I don't know if Travis was trying to take some of the brunt off. I think he was just kind of making an assessment about what, how you said, well, this is what I hear, what I see, and how everything comes to me and that's operating. I think Andy calls the plays, which I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm sure Andy does call the plays. But EB is without a doubt part of that play calling aspect, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a cohesive effort with all the coaches that's making that call.
Yeah. So does Andy sit in your chair, D? You ain't never had to touch up the mustache?
I've never touched up the mustache. I often wonder who his barber was, though. That's man. He keep it buzzed, man. So I don't know who does it. I don't know if he go to a barber, if he go to a salon. I don't know. But I've always echoing on what y'all talking about. I've always had players in the chair, and I've asked the same question: who calls the plays? And it's always been collaborative. They both always. I didn't hear this thing today, so it just might have been. My opinion, I think it could have been situational to a specific time and moment that whoever asked the question may have been asking Trav. But I always thought EB made calls. I thought Andy made calls. I know there's always been confusion on who was the signal. I mean, what was making plays. But I don't know. It does. In my opinion, it does hurt EB though too. You know what I mean? Because we all know that he's been searching for a head coaching job, and there's been some naysayers out there speaking against him as well. So I mean, it can hurt him. I'm shocked. I'm just now hearing it, so it's just kind of crazy to hear that. Like I thought it was both of them making calls at different times, though.
Yeah. And how that goes, and like you're saying, how it plays out is because what some people might take that information and use it against him. We're saying he may not be as brilliant as he is. Well, he's not the one making these calls up, right? And when they score these points, well, EB didn't have a hand in it. So why are we going to give him that type of credit?
You really lead a team.
He can't even lead a team, right? Shoot, if he can't even make the calls on offense, how's he going to make the calls on the entire team and the entire organization? And so I just think and I think Travis is right. Look, Andy does make calls. No doubt about it. Andy is an offensive genius. Why wouldn't he make calls, right? Why wouldn't he do it? And so I see Andy when he's got the sheet up and he's going through this thing. I know Andy's making calls, but we got to make sure that we understand that it is a collaborative effort. Andy absolutely trusts EB emphatically about what it is that his decision, right? If he didn't, he wouldn't have him there. Same with Nagy. So that means a lot. So I don't want to take away from, understanding that EB's his influence and his imprint on the Chiefs organization and what they do offensively should not be marred at all. I just, seriously, we just got to recognize it for what it is, seriously.
Yeah. It definitely caught some Chief fans, the ones who want to blame when we have slow offensive days, the one who always want to blame EB for that. So it does for those people, the ones who always want to blame EB when we do have slow days. So it's like, oh well, Coach Reid's calling the plays. Who are they going to blame now for that kind of stuff when you hear stuff like this come out? There's a lot of people who do like to blame it on EB.
Well, when everything's good, it's Andy's doing it. When it's going bad, it's EB, right? That's
no one knows who's calling the plays, but the inside.
Yeah.
We can
right. It's true.
All right, so we're final topic here. So Chiefs hosting the Denver Broncos this weekend. Obviously, Broncos fired their head coach this week, so they're kind of in flux right now. So we are a 12.5-point favorite at home. It's the third week in a row. We are the highest favorite in the NFL going into Sunday. So third weekend in a row. Last week we covered that 10-point spread against Seattle. So guys, who do you guys have this weekend, and what's your score prediction?
I mean, I'm easily picking the Chiefs. With much respect to the Broncos defense, because they've been playing pretty darn good. But that's a team in turmoil. You lose your head coach, your quarterback's been getting knocked every single week about his play, and I just don't see the confidence in him at all. Chemistry offensively is just not there. It's a good time for us defensively to step up and to work on some things that we need to work on going into the later part of the season and into the early parts of the playoffs. So. I say 3 touchdown win. We should win this by. I know the last game we went up quick and they found a way to get back in it, and it was closer than what it should have been. But I don't see us faltering this time, so I'd say 28-7.
That's good. That's good. So I agree with you. Like you said, man, this team, they just trying to get out of here, man, being healthy. I mean, seriously, if they could keep Russell Wilson up, they're going to try to do it. You got the offensive line infighting everywhere. Like you said, you just got rid of your head coach. And who's going to be the guy? At this moment, they even talking about maybe the GM getting rid of him if all these things that happen the way it should be happening. And so I think, when things like this happen, you're always trying to find a bright spot. So I think if they come in, they might try to find a bright spot, but it's going to fizzle out because they ain't got it. they ain't got it. So I'm gonna give them 17 points, 35-17. That's what I'm looking at. Okay, I just said 17 because you said you keep it under 17.
Yes.
I said
it's 17.
I'm gonna give it a 17. He just for them to try to come in and rally like everything's going around, the whole building's on fire, but let's try to put something together, right? So 35-17, man. It's not going to be close. They might get that 17 late if that happens.
Well, of course I'm gonna go with the hometown team, the Chiefs, over the Broncos this week. I'm gonna go ahead and say the predicted score will be 42-24.
Hey gosh.
Okay.
Yeah, we got some points this week. Pat out. He gonna have 300 yards passing and 3 touchdowns for sure.
Okay.
Pacheco.
Which running back gonna show out?
Woo! Hey, I love McKinnon, man. You know what? I love that. That's like a thunder and lightning type of thing, ain't it?
Yes, sir.
I like, man, you know what? It almost hurt my heart that we almost didn't bring McKinnon back. That he was a late sign or something like that. They were juggling with some other things and whatnot. But I found out at one point in time he wasn't on the team. Then next time we did pick him back up silently. So I like that combination of McKinnon and Pacheco. So yeah, man, I see Pacheco having a good game, and I also see McKinnon having a good game. So either way, I'm good with it.
I got you.
Yeah, I like it. That's a good combination. Like you said, that thunder and lightning, because that right there embodies exactly what that is. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Smash and dash. Another big one. So we have to win this week. So that first seed bye still in play. Big game on Monday night. Cincinnati hosting Buffalo. If Cincinnati pulls off the upset in that one, and we win, we get the 1 seed. Do you think Cincinnati pulls off the upset against Buffalo?
It's in Cincinnati too.
They're hot offensively. They're hot. Joe is kind of showing out right now. But you never know what kind of Buffalo team you're going to get. I think they're a pretty good overall team, offensively and defensively. But Josh is known to make some mistakes, and they make too many. Joe is going to capitalize on that. So I want to say I'm going with Cincinnati. I just don't know that.
Yeah, I got Cincy on it. I think Cincy will pull it off. It's in Cincinnati too, right? In the game in Cincinnati. Yeah, so it's hard over in the jungle, man. They got to rock it. And look, they got a lot of confidence after beating us. I think that was the one that really got them puffing their chest out, beating the Chiefs. So they're going to be ready. They're going to be ready for Buffalo.
Oh, my gosh, we had them.
Yo, man, come on.
We had them every game.
Every time.
Yeah. Happy beats or something going on. But, yeah, I'm with my pom-poms for Cincinnati this week.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. Well, DeJuan, it was awesome having you on. E and JD have talked about you many times before. It was awesome having you on to get to meet the face.
Man, it's a pleasure to be on.
Yeah, brother, I appreciate you, man. Much love. We continue to grow.
Yeah.
And see each other. Heck, I'll see you next time. I'm in KC.
Hey, yeah. For the playoff game.
Yes, sir.
Be there.
Hey, man, I got to come over to the establishment. Barbershop's been trying to get me over. It's like, JD, man, we got to go see Juan. Hey, I'm coming. I will be over there to come check you out.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.